So cooking is the whole process of buying the food, cutting it up, finding a recipe, and preparing the food, as well as cleaning up afterwards. And taking care of your knives is a part of that process. And if you just incorporate it on a regular basis of either honing or stoning your knives, you can keep them very sharp. So this kit will make it very easy for you because you've got the 3 primary stones that you need and the sink bridge as well as the cleaning stone. Here's what's in your sharpening kit. You've got a sink bridge, and we've got 3 stones, a 400 grit stone, 1000 grit stone, and a 5000 grit stone, and a cleaning stone. Now these stones are synthetic. They're made by Choicera. It's the best Japanese synthetic stone company in Japan. And we're very pleased to have them. These were custom made for ZWILLING. Now the sink bridge is meant to work either on the sink, where you can loosen these 2 wing nuts and expand it to fit the sink and then tighten this down, or it has these rubber feet on it so that you can use it right on the countertop, in which case I'd make it as small as possible, and then it'll stick nice and firmly to your butcher block or your countertop. What this kit will do for you is sharpen your knives, bring them back to razor surgical sharpness. Now here's a blade that's absolutely dull, and I'll show you what that edge looks like. The edge of this knife is now shaped somewhat like that. And this kit will allow you to reestablish this edge by removing material. Now, one test for this knife is cutting paper. This knife is so dull, it will not cut the paper at all, not even with a sliding cut. So the first thing we're going to do is set the stone bridge up so it will accept the coarsest stone. This is the 400 grit stone. And this stone is going to remove material from each side of this radiused edge, remove material from each side, and once those 2 planes intersect, it will cause a wire edge or a beard or a burr. Those words are all synonymous. The angle and the pressure are very important. So you can use a matchbook, lay it on the stone, lay your knife on the matchbook. That's about 12 to 15 degrees. Now I'm going to hold the knife in my right hand because my right hand is my dominant hand, and I'll spread my left hand out over the blade to get even pressure on the blade. Now the pressure is important. People often don't use enough pressure. One way to check yourself is to use a postal or a baking scale. Now I'm not going to put my hand on top of the scale, which will give a misleading reading, but I'll use the blade and just press down until you see 4 to 6 pounds of pressure. That's a normal amount. I may use a little bit more this time because this knife is extremely dull. These stones are very nice because you don't have to soak them in water. All you need is a little bit of water on the top. That's all the lubrication you need. You can see it's not soaking in. So 12 to 15 degrees. And I'll probably use about 6 pounds of pressure on this. And take a number of strokes on one side, maybe 5 or 6 strokes on this side. Try to utilize the full length of the stone. Now you can go straight back and forth, or you can make a sweeping action, or you can go backwards. I prefer this style or this shape. I know I have to remove a fair amount of material because of how dull this knife is. Now I'll remove the grit, and I want to feel the edge this way and this way. Now the burr will only show up on one side of the knife. So right now the burr is over on this side and I can feel it here, but I can't feel it here. And that's perfect. I'll just take a couple more strokes just to make sure it's nice and centered. So once I feel that burr all the way down the length of the knife, that's my indication to move to the next stone. The first stone has done its job as far as establishing the geometry. Now the second stone I'm going to use is a 1000 grit stone. You'll notice a significant difference in the way this stone sounds. Much quieter, much glassier. A little bit of water on the surface. Make sure the knife is nice and clean. Again, same angle, 12 to 15 degrees with about 4 to 6 pounds of pressure. Trying to use the whole surface of the stone here. Now this stone is just polishing the geometry that we set with the first stone. So I'm just polishing those two sides that we created with the 400 grit stone. This doesn't take a whole lot of strokes, and now I'll just go side to side to side to side. The second stone, you're just going to use your intuition, or you can visually inspect the edge to see how the surface quality changes from the 400 grit to the 1000 grit. Now I'll do my final stone, my finishing stone, which is a 5000 grit stone. A little bit of water. Make sure the knife is clean. Again, 12 to 15 degrees, and I'm just polishing the edge established by the first stone. You'll notice on the 5000 grit stone, because it's such a fine and dense stone, that a little bit of metal particles are being left behind. And it will load the stone up and keep it from cutting as efficiently as it can. And that's where your cleaning stone comes in. Just put a little bit of water on the stone, use your cleaner stone, and it works a lot like an eraser. And it will just pick up and remove any metal particles that are on the surface of this fine stone, which will make the cutting action, which will actually depress the cutting action a little bit. So once you get the stone nice and clean, there's actually a little slurry, a little paste left behind, which will help to actually polish the edge of the knife. And the last few strokes are nice and light. Now hopefully I'll feel no burr on either side, and if I was successful, I should be able to easily slice this paper. And sharpening your knife should just be incorporated into your cooking process, the same way you would go out and buy vegetables beforehand, or the fact that you have to clean up the kitchen after you're done cooking. Keeping your knives sharp will only take 4 or 5 minutes per knife. If you do it on a regular basis, you can actually get it done in like 2 or 3 minutes. So I've shown you how to use the stone holder effectively on the countertop. Let me show you how to fit this to your sink. First, you're just going to open these wing nuts and stretch it out till it's the right length. Tighten the wing nuts down, and then it'll fit right into the containment. The nice thing about sharpening over your sink is that you've got water right there, and any grit that may come off the stone can just be washed away easily. It's actually the preferred place where I like to sharpen. Okay, so you can see with this kit, you can make your knives razor sharp, sliced tomatoes paper thin. But if you'd like it to take it to the next level, we have a couple of other stones that are available. We have a 3000 grit stone. And the nice thing about this is the closer you want to incrementally move up from stone to stone. So you would insert this stone between the 1000 and the 5000 grit. And then to really finish your knives off with an unbelievably high polish, we have a 10,000 grit stone. And as a companion to all of these stones, and I would highly recommend that you add the stropping block to the selection of stones or this kit. Now this is a leather coated block, and what this will do is give a final polish in removing the wire edge generated from even the 3000 or the 5000 grit stone or even the 10,000 grit stone. So this is really the final finishing step that you'll use when using any or all of these stones. You need to make sure when using this that you go backwards. You don't want the edge to go into the leather because it will actually cut the leather. So you're going to place the knife just the same way you did on the stone, 12 to 15 degree angle. I'm going to put about the same pressure on this blade, but I'll start at the tip rather than at the heel. I'm going to start at the tip and go backwards, and then flip the knife over and go backwards. And what this does is polish off that very fine little wire edge on the knife and gives it just a slight polish. So this is the polish that you can achieve with 10,000 grit and the leather stropping block. And this smooth polished edge is just razor sharp, hair popping sharp. I would much rather break the stones out and sharpen my knives than I would clean pots and pans. Yet most of us clean pots and pans every day and have to clean the stovetop up, take out the garbage. This is really very easy to do, very accessible, and it gives you a tremendous amount of satisfaction when you can notice that, hey, my knife is not as sharp as it should be. Let me get these stones out, take 10 minutes, put a razor sharp edge back on the knife, and then you're ready to go for the next time you're cooking.